Mel with us? No, he's not here with us.
I'll have to play.
Okay, Mel is here. I'm just going to do roll call very quickly just to make sure all the board members are here because I cannot see everybody on my screens. Let me try to do that. Okay. Noah Margot. If I call you, can you say
Here.
present? Because I can't see everybody for whatever reason. Thank you. Mr. Recupero.
Here.
Mr. Spitz.
Here.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
Here.
Okay, and Mrs. Marcus.
Here.
Okay, and Dr. Breggy.
Here.
Doctor. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. It's 5:08 p.m. We apologize for the delay. It is April 28th, 2020. I need a motion. I'm sorry, Mr. Spitz, will you please lead us in the flag salute? And can you all just mute yourselves so we can hear Mel? Thank you.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Are you with me?
We are with you and we're listening to you. We're with you.
Well, join me, please. Ready, begin. I
Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands,
and
one
one
nation under God,
Nation.
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Liberty
for all.
and justice for all.
We should never be in the choir together, never. Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Spitz. Thank you for leading this and the flag salute. Okay, I need a motion, please, for the approval of the agenda.
I move approval of
Okay,
the
is there a
agenda.
motion? Thank you,
That's
Mrs.
Kristen.
I'll second that.
I'll second it.
Okay, I second it. I'm gonna second everything, or because I'm just having a difficult time recording this. So because of the experience that we're having doing this online, it's very difficult. So just for practical reasons, if it's okay, I'm gonna second the agenda and I'm gonna ask for a motion. So just so that we're consistent and more practical and move the meeting forward, if that's okay. I'm also going to move things a little bit around. I'm going to actually, instead of starting with Mr. Noah Margot, I'm going to start with Mrs. Marcus today and move our way around just so that we change the flavor of the meeting a little bit, if that's okay with you. Is there any objections to that? No? Everyone thumbs up? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so all those in
Is this Isabel? Sorry, I didn't.
Yes,
Hacker,
we are. Yes.
Is this going to be common practice now?
No, just today, and then we'll move it around. I think it's fair. Is that okay with
Okay.
you, Mr. Margot?
Okay. Yeah, you didn't say whether it was for tonight or for
Just for today,
ad
just
infinitum,
to change the flavor of the meeting today, and then we'll go back to we'll
Okay,
Well, maybe,
go back.
Isabel, just a suggestion,
that's
maybe
fine.
do this.
It's fine. I don't care.
Rotate this around more so than always being, so if I get first this time, maybe Mr. Spitz gets first, then Mrs. Tristan Walker gets first.
Yes, of course, we'll move it around. That's exactly what I want to do. I wanted to give everybody a chance to go first at some point.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to have we didn't vote on the approval of the agenda, did we? No. So all those in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to now have Dr. Breggy, do you have a report of closed session? Any action to report?
There was no action in closed session this evening.
Okay, thank you. So I am now going to move to public hearings, and I have 4 statements to read. The first one is from Jilla and Shalom Berkman. Dear Beverly Hills Unified School Board of Education members, we appreciate the teachers and administrators who work tirelessly to keep education going and organized the web conference hour for students. For Horace Mann second grade, we have classes every school day from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., which we truly appreciate. We have been very involved in our child's schoolwork to ensure that everything was completed each day. We kept our child busy with other activities as well as throughout the day. But coming to the end of the school year since the shutdown, we are extremely concerned about the mental, emotional, and physical health of all of our children in the community. As much as we would like to stay positive and keep away from fears of the virus, still, because of the lack of interaction with other children and having the normal educational environment, the effect of our effort is minimal. Every day we notice the importance of having our children in a school environment, playing with their classmates, friends, and connecting with teachers, especially for families like us that only have one child at home. As parents in our community, we are very concerned that we are injecting our children's lives with all the negativity and fear in our society instead of building a life of positivity, hope, and courage. The only thing they are getting is fear. That has a long-lasting, deleterious effect to their life and future. Excuse me. We are all in the shutdown together, but young children cannot comprehend this point, and it is not held to keep. It does not help to keep them isolated. We are demanding that our schools open in the fall. Parents should have the option to have their children attend or not. Those who choose to keep their children at home should have their online option. For our part, we will not accept this continued lockdown. This is not good for our children, our community. We ask the schools in 2021 school year be open to all our children. We are willing to accept measures taken to make all feel safe. As parents, as intelligent adults, professionals, and business people, we are capable of making the right decision for our family and our community. We will make sure that we will follow all of the safety protocols. The big aspects of maintaining our children's mental health at this critical age is the school environment. That is something that is out of our control. The sooner we resume to our normal lives with caution and following common sense health guidelines, the sooner we will preserve our children's future and well-being. The only other option is to keep schools closed until the vaccination is developed, tested, and approved. This could take years. Children are at the least likely to suffer bad effects from this pandemic. They are far more likely to suffer seriously bad outcomes from the standard influenza, but the school board does not shut down our schools down every flu season, and for every good reason. Risks are inherent and in all aspects of life. At this point, the risk of infection and a bad outcome is far less than the risk of continued social isolation for children who desperately need socialization. We are imploring you to open the schools this coming 2021 season to prevent the long-term damage to our children's emotional and psychological well-being. We respectfully request that our message be read out loud at the April 28th board meeting. Most sincerely, Jillian Shalom Bergman. I have another email from Sean. Without an exact repeat of the letter that Jillian Shalom Bergman wrote to you, I would like to express my support of their sentiment and imploring you to open the schools for 2021 as scheduled in August 2020. My name is Shannon Schoen, and I have a rising third grader at Horseman. Please reach out to me if you need any parent input into your decision. Thank you. The next letter is from Tregstad, Schwab, and Tregstad. Dear Governing Board of Beverly Hills Education School District, the resolution to lay off the Director of Maintenance and Operations position currently held by your employee, my client, Eugene Garcia, is an act of employment discrimination in violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act and other laws. BHUSD has been discriminating and retaliating against Mr. Garcia for a long time, and this resolution is a thinly veiled attempt by the district to terminate several individuals, including Mr. Garcia, who the district has been trying to get rid of for some time. BHUSD is exploiting the COVID-19 situation as a cover to lay off people who are in administrative leave and who BHUSD does not want to come back. There is no lack of work, no lack of funding for these positions. This is a contrived layoff masquerading under the thin veneer of education code provisions. Mr. Garcia is fully qualified to work, but as an act of discrimination and retaliation, BHUSD placed him on an unjustified administrative leave in July 2019, reportedly pending further investigation. However, there has been no further investigation or any interviews of Mr. Garcia, nor any charges or allegations brought forth by him. Mr. Garcia has remained on administrative leave for almost a year without any notifications. The entire administrative leave has been a farce. Additionally, as part of the resolution, the district is intentionally also eliminating the maintenance and construction operations manager position. This position is currently empty, but it is the position Eugene Garcia could bump into. BHUSD purposely eliminating the position so that Mr. Garcia is unable to bump into it, thus ensuring he cannot return. This is confirmed because the person, Anthony Talbert, who fills the position you are laying off in the information tech manager position is also an administrative leave, and the LMS leave position you are getting rid of is the position that the person could bump into. This is too incredible to be a mere coincidence. BHUSD is intentionally targeting two individuals it has placed on administrative leave without justification or investigation, and simultaneously happening to target the two positions each of these positions can bump into to ensure that they cannot be reemployed. Not only that, but Ken House, the Executive Director of Construction and Facilities, is currently performing Eugene Garcia's job duties while Mr. Garcia sits on this unjustified administrative leave for the last year. Therefore, the claim that there is a lack of work is a patent falsehood. Clearly, there is work being done in this position's duties. There is no reason Ms. Ken Haas should be doing this work instead of Eugene Garcia, the rightful employee. BHUSD must take Mr. Garcia off administrative leave and put him back to his position immediately. Please do not proceed with this layoff. Your anticipated cooperation and prompt attention to this matter is greatly appreciated. If the district proceeds with this layoff, we will pursue all legal remedies available for all employees who are similarly affected and whose layoffs are nothing more than a contrived efforts to cull unwanted employees out of the district. Should you have any questions upon receipt, please do not hesitate to contact our office. Very truly yours, Tristad Schwab, and Tristad. Okay. And the following and last email. Dear board members, I'd like to provide you with feedback as a concerned parent regarding my 3 children's experiences with remote learning as it applies to your agenda below. Discussion on summer enrichment and summer assessment opportunities for students. B, discussion fall plans, options for return to school if social distancing measures are still in place. And C, discussion of quality, equitable, turnkey remote education. My 6th grader only has a 10 to 15 minute direct lecture interaction per week with his teachers. Although a few of his teachers provide a self-developed short video of the weekly lesson plan, there is hardly any lecture or instruction time directly between the teacher and the student. The short videos don't come close to replacing instructor-led live lectures. 1, can you please clarify how an instructor's 40-minute daily lectures has now been reduced to 15 minutes per week? What are the teachers doing with the remaining 5 hours of workday if they are still spending a few hours peeping a lesson plan and 15 minutes a week to interact per each period of class? 2, can you explain why homework is now considered classwork during school hours? 3, why is a student only able to request a 5-minute Zoom meeting to ask questions about his assignments versus asking questions throughout the daily live lesson plan as before? The same holds true for my 2 high school students who are mostly doing self-learning. Thankfully, there are a couple of teachers that are still providing 30 to 40-minute lectures, although it's only twice a week. I'm speaking on behalf of many concerned parents that are realizing remote education at BHUSD as turned into a self-education. Our kids are not receiving the same level of a teacher interaction and instructor-led learning as they should be. If our educators are still employed, why aren't they continuing the same schedule of live lectures as if the students were sitting in their classrooms? What is those work hours replaced with as teachers have much more downtime but getting full salary? Thanks to modern technology, many private schools within the Los Angeles area are keeping exactly the same lecture hours and schedules as if kids were still in school, plus homework to complete after school. These schools start with live lectures sharply at 8 a.m. and through 3 p.m. The teachers are still working full-time and live interaction all week with their students. Some insiders have mentioned the LAUSD only permits 30 minutes of device time per day. Is that why our teachers are not permitted to teach live lectures beyond this time limit? Can this be addressed to the higher officials to make amendments due to the changed landscape? I hope that the board takes time to clearly differentiate between learning and self-learning. Our children deserve a higher level of interaction from their passionate teachers to get them excited about the subject matter. I'm sad to see summer learning has also gone digital. BHEF, as our kids, deserve a more interactive summer experience. Thank you for your consideration. Sharon Nazir. And that concludes public comment. Okay. We're going to now move on to item 8. May I please, I guess we don't need a motion. BHEF has an update. Is BHEF with us?
Cindy is somewhere in the neighborhood.
Yep. Hello.
Hi, Cindy.
President and I are here. Hello. Okay, do you want me to just jump in? Happy to get started right away. Yes?
So let me introduce Mrs. Cindy Trost is with us, as well as Joseph Preston. Thank you and welcome, and we're happy to have you. And the floor is yours now.
Thank you so much. Well, Mr. Joseph and I, we're very happy to have Preston Joseph back as the administrator for the Beverly Hills Education Foundation Summer Academy. But before we jump into a conversation about BHEF and the summer program, I'm here tonight because BHEF met last evening, and I'm so very happy to report that we're going to continue our 40 years plus of support and dedication to helping educate the students in the school district to the level that they deserve while keeping them safe. We voted to allocate over $500,000 to continue the various programs that we've supported in 2020 and going into 2021. So we'll start there. With that in mind, summer school plan, as you did announce, has gone to home learning, and we are very happy that we're able to reimagine summer school in much the same way our school district has planned for the school year to continue education for our kids. And I'll let Mr. Joseph step in and tell you a little bit more about our plans.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you to the board for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. We've been working really hard these past few weeks to convert our summer academy to an online format without the use of the facilities at the high school. I wanted to quickly thank the BHEF staff, especially Christy Austin and Moj Savon, who've been working with us to make this transition, as well as Dustin Seaman, who's been answering all of my questions and helping us with this transition. We're proud to say that we're going to offer most all of our classes through the same structure that Beverly Hills High School is delivering instruction now. Some classes will be offered through a blended learning, which will be through programs like APEX, but facilitated by a credentialed teacher. Additionally, we're expanding our middle school boot camp offerings. These are 2-week camps. They'll be in a variety of subjects: photography, art, coding, audio production. But also we're adding this year a bridge to middle school camp, which will be a 2-week camp for rising 6th graders. And then we're also going to add an English language arts and a math review class for 6th through 8th graders. Our high school registration opened last week, and our middle school registration will open tomorrow as we finish making the last minute changes to those programs.
Okay, thank you. And there, Cindy, anything else or?
No, we're just very happy. Mr. Joseph has been working very hard, reaching out to teachers, right now working to get those instructors in place who are going to provide the supports that go with the online learning. And we think it's going to be an amazing program. We continue to work on a TK5 option. We're working out some details and hope to be able to share that very, very soon. But right now we are ready with the high school option. Our first semester of the health has been, all of those seats are accounted for right now. So we're encouraging people, if they are interested in summer school, to go online to bhef.org and begin their registrations, because our classes are beginning to fill up.
So we will, thank you for your presentation. I'd like to turn it over to the board. We'll start with you, Mrs. Marcus, if you have any questions, and then we'll work our way down to Thomas. Ms. Marcus. You have to unmute yourself, Mrs. Marcus.
Okay. I forgot. Okay. Hi, everybody. A couple questions. I noticed you mentioned the APEC. Is that with the that those classes will be given the credit? I mean, all the classes that the kids take will be given the high school credit that they would have gotten if they had taken it in regular summer school instead of online. Is there no change in the credit for the classes? I was curious about the credit.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. We've been working with Dustin to make sure that all of our classes will be given the same graduation and high school credits as has been in the past.
And what about remedial classes for the kids in the high school who have not passed the classes and have to retake them? Is there an opportunity? Are they going to have that opportunity during the summer school online classes?
Yes, ma'am. We are also offering the credit recovery options that we've offered in the past. And in fact, I think with the variety of offerings, it may even offer more class options than we have in the past.
And we do have all of this in our catalog at bhef.org. If you click on our summer school tabs, you'll see absolutely everything in its entirety, and it'll be spelled out in detail what the course is and how the delivery is going to happen with the content.
With the instructor, who the instructor is also, that
Well,
will
it
be.
doesn't say who the instructor is. We're working on staffing right now, but it does explain to you how that course is being delivered, and it shows you all of the options that are going to be available to the students.
Okay, well, I'm glad that the BHF is on top of all of this and that they're ready to roll when the summer school starts. I hope that the teachers are going to provide very vital, good classes and that the students will enjoy them. And I look forward to getting a good report when they have finished taking the classes and
Thank
the
you.
final report from the summer school committee.
Okay, Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
So I'm really glad to hear the update from you. I had shared the update that you guys had emailed to everyone earlier this week with my WhatsApp group, and there were a bunch of questions about the difference between the blended versus home learning via Google Classroom. So can you talk a little bit about the differences, and are those going to be offered for both, for all of the options for classes that are given in BHUF summer program?
So the hope is to offer as many classes as we can using the format that our high school is using now. In the past, if we didn't get enough enrollment, we've had to close those classes. So using the Apex licensing, we're now able to offer those, and we call it blended because it is using an outside format of Apex, but unlike a lot of online schools, we are going to hire a credentialed teacher to offer office hours and support for those students. So hopefully giving a little bit of a advantage for those students as they guide themselves through some of those lessons.
So is that the only method, or is there some alternative to the blended?
The only other option would be for some of the credit recovery classes. We're looking at a program called UC Scout, which is offered through the UC program, which is similar to Apex. The only difference with that one, while it is UC approved, it's not NCA approved, so it may not be a perfect option for all students who are looking at credit recovery.
Yeah, and I'll jump in, Preston, you can also talk. We do have Google Classroom as well, much like our high school students are currently taking.
Right. Well, and that will be probably that will be the main platform for the traditional classes.
Yeah, we have world history that's being offered through that. So there are options for students to continue learning in the same way that they have throughout the rest of this school year. U.S. history. We're excited.
Right.
It's a really wonderful program.
So when you're signing up, I haven't signed my kids up for the academics from summer, only for the sports program, which that's going to be my next question because I'm not sure that those are happening. But when you're going to sign up, do you get to choose the blended learning versus home learning through Google Classroom?
No, those classes are on the website in the registration section. They're divided into traditional and blending. So you'll be able to see which classes are offered under each format. If, for instance, a U.S. history doesn't fill up, or we can offer it in a traditional sense, we'll give then those registered students the option of taking it in the blended format. But that will be a choice of the student and the parent.
Okay. But when you say blended, that what you mean by that is Apex with a credentialed teacher doing supervision and kind
Correct.
of shepherding the students.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Awesome. And UC Scout. But okay, so blended means either one of those two?
Blended.
And then when you say traditional, that means home learning with Google Classroom, kind of like this plan that we're doing right now with Home Learning Plan 2.0?
Well, it's all
Correct.
home learning. I mean, to be honest.
Yes, and
I'm just trying to, the email that you sent just differentiates. It says through home learning via Google Classroom or blended learning. So I'm just trying to differentiate between the two. So the blended learning you mean is Apex or UC Scout with a credentialed teacher guiding, and then the home learning via Google Classroom mirrors kind of what we're doing now.
that is correct, except the UC
Okay.
Scout is only offered for credit recovery.
Got it. Okay. And then for the athletics programs, I'm assuming that that's not happening. I mean, I think we have as much information as you have. But I know that there was an email sent out saying if you had signed up and you want a refund, that you can request a refund. It has to be done by a certain date. But there's going to be an announcement, I'm assuming, of whether or not those summer athletics programs are continuing.
We're still meeting with Tim Ellis and discussing if there's something that can be done. He asked for some more time to look at options and to consider things, and so we're open. We don't have to make a decision today. We do still have time to see how things work out in the rest of the community in terms of social distancing and what people are allowed to do. And I think even for the school district, I think you guys have some things that we're seeking information from you as well. So we haven't made that call yet, but we are still talking about it. But we figured we might want to go ahead and request a refund now until they see what that looks like. And
so there will be either an update before the refund date deadline or a different deadline for the athletic programs that have been offered?
I don't know if it doesn't happen at all, everyone will get a refund regardless of what it currently says online about the refund. I mean, if we cancel the program and it's past the date that's on the announcement, we're not going to not refund people's money. So we are working to see if the program will happen, in which case people will have the option, if they've been refunded already, to re-sign up again. And if they haven't had a chance to sign up, well, then they can look at that and choose to sign up as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Spitz, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes. I have no additional questions, but Mrs. Coates, I want to thank you. I want to thank you both for the professionalism and the commitment that you have. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of what you're doing, and I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
Very kind of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Noah. I'm sorry, Mr. Margot.
Thank you. First of all, Mr. Joseph, thank you for being on camera with the students. I get to keep an eye on that a little bit with my students, so I appreciate your efforts. Dr. Breggy, since it looks like they won't be leasing the facility from us this summer, is there some sort of arrangement we have with their fee that they pay, the BHEF?
So we would have to just go back and just look at that contract again, but clearly that, I mean, we wouldn't be charging for something that that they're not using, and so we could certainly revisit that. Actually, they're even doing more than what you were doing before, so we can absolutely revisit that.
Yeah, and we're going to
I
have
only
a
say
need for technology.
Sorry, Cindy, I just wanted to say I know.
I'm sorry, what I was saying, Noah, was that, we're still going to need to provide students who enroll technology. And so that was also part of the contract that you signed was BHEF Summer Academy, being able to utilize those kinds of district resources for our students as well.
I appreciate that, Cindy. I am trying to get you some money back to the foundation.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, exactly.
It's definitely against my better nature as a board member to give money up, but I was thinking over it this whole time, and I don't think you're going to be using facilities at all. So I think we should at least revisit the contract fairly, whatever that winds up being.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Margo. And I have to say, I truly miss the students and being in the classroom. So it's nice to see them a few times a week. So thanks for saying that.
Thank you.
And shout out to
Thank
you.
you.
Great job taking care of the responders. Laura's awesome. I want the world to know what a great job she's doing.
Okay,
Thank you.
and now we're gonna, Mr. Recupero.
I do not have any questions, but I just wanted to thank Mr. Joseph, Mr. Frost, and the whole BHEF team for reorganizing and structuring the whole summer program. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
and
congratulations.
Dr. Breggy. I'm sorry, Cindy. I'm sorry. Please.
No, I just wanted to congratulate him. I heard the good news about school, and we're also very proud of him. And he's been a wonderful representative of the student body, and his service on the school board has definitely been amazing.
Thank you so much.
Miss Dr. Breggy, did you want to jump in here before I
Yeah,
go?
just want to offer my thanks as well to Mr. Joseph. That is a position that is not an easy position. It's kind of an underestimated leadership position because it happens in the summer, but the work that you have to do is probably 10 times what anybody would think that it is, especially with the reorganization that you've been doing. So I do want to thank you for that. I mean, heard just such great feedback about your responsiveness to questions. So I personally want to thank you for your leadership in this area. And also, Mrs. Trost, I just want to thank you that Mrs. Chisholm and I were guests last night at the meeting. And I just want to thank you for that opportunity on behalf of both of us. And also just for, awarding our district over $500,000 in supporting our programs. So thank you for that. We couldn't do it without you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. For 40 years, that's why we're here, to help raise money so that we can keep great programs going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I did have just a brief question. For the blended learning or for the summer experience, since this is a little different from years past, how will we be offering science courses just because of the lab, or are we not doing that this year?
We are going to offer science courses. It may be what we'll call a dry lab, where there are more simulations. But our science teachers have really done a great job of giving experiments that students can do in the home to some degree. So we have to get creative with that. But it certainly, a chemistry class won't be as exciting maybe as it was. But what I've seen so far is our teachers have really done a great job of getting creative, and it could be more of a simulation than what we're used to, though.
Great. Well, I think that concludes my questions. I want to again thank both of you for coming on and for sharing this great information. I think it's a relief on the minds of many parents who.
Isabel,
Yes, I'll defer to you, Mrs. Marcus. I'll defer to you when I'm done, if that's okay.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Okay.
No, it's okay. I lost my train of thought now, but I just wanted to say I think that this really alleviates the minds of many parents who are wondering, what they were to plan for this summer because of this situation with COVID-19. So I think you've offered a wonderful alternative for our families and our students, and so I'm looking forward to hearing the success of the program in the fall. So thank you for doing and providing the service for our district and our families. It's very well appreciated and needed. So, and thank you again for being here tonight. And I'm going to defer back to Mrs. Marcus, who had a question.
I'm sorry, Isabel, I thought you had finished.
It's okay, it's okay.
First of all, I want to thank Ms. Trost. I've never met Mr. Joseph, so I'm just saying hello. I don't even know what you teach. I mean, but I'm hearing some great things about the fact that the kids are very, very involved and so on. And it's a pleasure to meet you. And I want to thank you for taking on this tremendous job of running the summer school program. I'm sure it's very, very successful. I was curious, is this your first year? Have you done it before? Or is this, I'm just out of curiosity. I don't know all these things.
No, this will be my third summer doing this. And then before I taught with the summer school for 8 or 10 years, but I teach social studies. This year I'm teaching senior government and economics and also world history.
Okay, thank you. And I just wondered, Tristan, what happened are your kids going to summer school with the school, or are they going somewhere else? What happened? Yeah, I know you had the classes that were offered. Did you ever find what happened?
Yeah, well, actually, Algebra 1 was what my daughter was going to take, and that wasn't offered at the time. But we have since signed up. We're actually doing it with Apex now. So we're looking at other classes that the kids can take in the summer. And now that it's online and then we don't have to actually physically be there for the first day, she's going to be able to take, whatever else fits the bill. I think maybe world history or possibly chemistry. So
I'm glad to
that
hear
looks like
that.
where we're landing.
Glad to hear that.
I'm happy with the changes. It actually opens up a whole new world. So not having to check in the first day, makes it work for my family for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so glad you were here today.
Thank you. I'm sorry to have interrupted.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you again. Cindy, do you have any questions for us, Mr. Joseph and Mrs. Trost?
No, I just want to thank the board for your continued support. And it's, I hope to be able to come back and visit with you again in May and share with you our new BHEF leadership as I'm coming to the end of my term. This is 3 years for me, and it's been a pleasure working with all of you. And again, we'll be back again, and I'll tell you all about what's happening with our board and who our new leaders will be. And we're so excited to have Mr. Joseph with us again for a third year. He has been a tremendous asset to the BHEF Summer Academy. And I just encourage everyone to take a look at what we have to offer and see if there's something there that works for your family.
Thank you so much again for being here. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to now move on to the approval of the consent calendar. May I please have a motion?
I will move for
approval.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have
That's all right,
Mrs.
you can go.
Marcus. I have Ms. Marcus first, and then I'm going to second, as I said. Tristan, you can have the next. You can make the motion for the next agenda item if that's okay. Okay, Mrs. Marcus. So you've moved it, and I second it. Is anybody?
I would like to pull number 9, the 9B1, certificated personnel.
Okay. 91. So I think you have to modify your motion.
Okay, I move to approve the consent calendar minus 9B personnel reports 1.
And I will amend my second, and I will accept that. So anybody else pulling before we go to a vote? Okay, so we are all those in favor, and I'm gonna do a roll call, please. So Mrs. Marcus,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Spitz,
Yes.
Mr. Margot,
Yes.
Mr. Recupero.
Yes.
Thank you, and I am a yes as well. Okay, discussion. Mrs. Marcus, the floor is yours. I also wanted to pull this, but you go
Okay,
first.
do we have to move for a motion on that first? For that item?
Yeah, we do.
You can now discuss it.
Well,
We need a motion
I'm
for
sorry. You
discussion.
mean a motion, absolutely, for discussion.
okay, I move for the approval of the item 9B1, certificated personnel report as part of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Ms. Marcus. I will second that. Okay, discussion.
I was curious to know, I have a couple questions. I know that I asked about the teachers that are going to be doing this special class for and what it was for and so on. I was curious to know, and this is either directed at you, Dustin, Mr. Seaman, or to Mrs. Chisholm, identifying these students and getting them on board and so on, so that how do we identify these students with what's going on with the situation right now? Are we going to be able to adequately identify the kids that need this extra education and getting them to be able to learn and improve with the distant learning? In other words, these are students that are for math and ELA, as we know. They're special students that qualify through Title I or Title III. So I want to know how we're identifying them and what the program will be like for them. That's what I'm curious to know.
Good evening, everyone. So our Title I and EL students are already identified. They're already currently sitting in seats in classrooms already, receiving services from our Title I, our Learning Lab, and our EL instructors. And so we identified the students that need the additional support to extend into the summer. It's federal law. When you receive categorical funding in Title I or Title III, you have to provide an extension to the school year, similar to what special education students are offered as well. And so we work with the families throughout the school year and provide them this opportunity. So it's all open to all students that qualify for Title I and Title III. We do not eliminate any seats. We fill up as many as we possibly can. So we go into the summer hoping that we'll fill each grade band, but that hasn't always been the case in summers past. Some of our families have chosen to do other things, they travel, but we continually encourage them to participate.
And they will be learning online with the program again this summer, just like they do right now. What's going on with the 2.0 program? They're going to be getting the same, the teachers that you've identified. Now, I noticed there was no teacher in the 1st or 6th grade.
On the certificated report is what their current role is. We have them divided by grade band. So there is a TK Kinder group, a 1st grade group, a 2nd grade group, a 3rd grade group. And so yep, they can teach all. And so they're actually, and then we even have a middle school program as well offered. So that's where you see Benaham, he's running the middle school process. So we do have a TK through 8th grade opportunity because both Horace Mann and BVMS are Title I schools, so they do qualify for those opportunities.
Okay.
The teachers.
Do most of the kids take the class? Do you get most of the kids to take
We, in the 3 years that we've been here as administration, we have had to collapse classes and typically run anywhere between 3 to 4, and predominantly at the elementary level. We haven't had the opportunity to be able to launch the middle school. Typically, middle school students will sign up for sports camps and stuff that would conflict with them receiving math and ELA support. But again, we continue to encourage the parents to take advantage of this opportunity. We've reached out to them via not only email, snail mail, and phone calls home.
Perhaps this year, because of what's going on with COVID-19, we may get a bigger enrollment because parents would like to increase or feel that they would get more education with the program during the summer also. So because they may be not moving around as much, and this might encourage them to enroll. Just a thought.
No, absolutely. And just from a number standpoint, I did a presentation last spring where I identified the student targets, and there was 191 across the district. And so you'll see we'll be able to chunk those into smaller class sizes for additional support. So hopefully we get them all to participate this summer. Fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, I think that you've answered my questions somewhere in between there, Dustin, so I'm not going to ask again, but thank you for that. Okay, we're going to call for a vote if there's any other discussion. Okay, there's none. So, Mrs. Marcus, you need to unmute yourself or give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
Yes.
Mr. Spitz.
Yes.
Mr. Margot.
Yes.
Mr. Recupero.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes too. Thank you. So that concludes that discussion. We're going to move on to reports from Dr. Obreghi.
Good evening. So I'm going to share my screen with you. If everyone can see my screen. Some of the things that I wanted to just talk about briefly tonight is just give you an update on our strategic plan work. Also want to touch upon projections since we are in the planning stages for the school year. And then also wanted to talk with you a little bit about the just an update with the 7-Eleven committee, and then just a quick plug for some of the construction work that's happening in the district. Just as a takeoff from the last time when I gave an update about the strategic planning, we were about ready to have our focus groups And so we had focus groups go through an activity. It's a SWOT exercise. It's the SWOT, which is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And just to give you a little bit of an idea, we had over 100 people that came and participated in our focus groups, and you could see a variety of stakeholders here, from staff to community members in different areas, including Title I, EL, special education, and even some of our students were asked to provide some input, as well as some of our community members. We had a meeting just the last, within 2 meetings within the last couple of weeks. We did have to pause as we began our home learning plan 2.0, but we quickly got back into the swing of things. And so we had an activity where we were really trying to find the purpose. We were looking at our vision and mission statements, and we did some reflecting about how we identified with our vision and mission, which was great timing from our Board of Education that recommitted to the mission and vision. So that was great timing for our planning. And then we looked at where we aligned and where we didn't align. And then we began to develop our core values. And you can see that we went a little old school with some of our work so that we could provide group work, some individual work, and then we combine that work, and that's with Bonnie, our facilitator, who's doing a terrific job of guiding us. And then just recently, we really, this is where it's all really coming together for us. We are looking at a variety of data points. And this is one thing where I want to thank the board for approving a couple of years ago when we did our audits, because the audits have been very helpful, but now we're using them in a different way. As we are in small groups within our leadership team, that we are looking at not only that focus group information, but our CASP information, the WASC report, and both the technology audit and also our curriculum audit that was done. And then we're also looking at our surrounding competitors for comparison. And so each of us right now, we're currently doing that small group work. And then we've just reported back yesterday some of the work that we're doing. And it's really coming together for us now how authentic this plan development is. And I'll give you an example. So when we were looking at some of the SWOT, the mission and vision data, in my small group, I had Mrs. Merle Bauer and also Mrs. Marcus. And we were going through all of that data. And it was interesting to see that, and we couldn't really tell at the time, but we pulled out those trends in that data. And then when we got back together and we started to listen to the other groups, and I'll just give you one example, just as when we were looking at instruction for areas of improvement, we were looking at, and I'll just give you one example of like, vertical articulation and standards and learning targets. It was interesting that what's happening from some of the other reports, whether it's the curriculum report or the technology report or even a WASC report, how the information does trend. And so some of those improvement areas that are done by separate people in separate groups, like the audits, and they're picking up on the same information that our stakeholders are picking up on. It's a pretty great thing to see that all coming together, so that you know that when you're looking at the quantitative and the qualitative data that we're looking at, when you start to see those connections and those relationships. So we're very excited that despite the fact that we're doing it virtual, is moving along really well. And we're excited about these next steps as we begin to look further into the trends of our qualitative and our quantitative data. And from that, our next steps will be looking at what could we develop as far as 3-year goals. And then from there, we're going to be looking at our objectives, strategies in meeting our objectives. And it's a very quick process, but we're spending a lot of time outside of our meeting time in our small groups and then reporting back. So we believe that we'll still be on schedule for a June presentation to the board. One thing that we've been talking about that has changed is just the LCAP. And we've talked about how assessments have been canceled. We've been waiting on information about the LCAP. And we have finally received some information here that instead of submitting our 3-year LCAP, the change has been that districts are now turning in a plan to show how we are addressing COVID-19 and our distance learning plans. So that has been a new change for us, that's what is going to be reported, and that's going to be what we turn in for right now. And then the date has been pushed back for what I'm going to call the real plan, the real LCAP. And so that is actually, it looks like it's a delay, but it's really actually more work. And I want to thank Dustin for that. He's a big part of the LCAP. And so now it's just additional work, because now it's not only preparing what we were doing for distance learning, but then it's also taking the strategic plan, which it's still great timing, and then also incorporating that into our LCAP as well. So while there looks like there's a delay, it's actually just creating some more work, some more documentation, and some more reporting. So that's kind of next steps for the LCAP. And I do want to touch upon just some of the projections. And again, these are just numbers that for each school. I'm just going to go through quickly. I'm happy to answer questions along with Laura Chisholm. That I have our current enrollment off to the side here, off to the left-hand side, and where we are projected to be for next year. And I do want to start off by saying that this is a bit early for our projections. These numbers do not include our preschool numbers. They do in this enrollment over here, our current enrollment. That's including our preschool students. But one of the hardest things for projections is always your preschool and your kindergarten students, because typically these are families that do not make the decision to enroll their students for kindergarten until the summer. And so we're going to see a lot of movement in this area in the kindergarten area, but also what's not reported here is our preschool numbers. So as you can see, there is a decline in our enrollment, and you'll see that trend here through Horace Mann as well. Again, these numbers don't include preschool and do not include many of the kindergarten students that have yet to enroll. And we will have a lot of movement in the summer, as we always do. So we do see that our total enrollment will easily be picking up a bit. At Beverly Vista Middle School, we had our jump last year with 957. We're predicting about 904 students. Oops. And then at the high school, actually staying relatively stable here with our enrollment here, which is very much in line with what the demographics report said. So that looks like that has flattened a little bit for us. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The last thing I just want to leave off with is that there are some great things that are happening with construction and facilities. So I just want to put a plug in for, I'll put this presentation on the website so that you can see this link, or if you just go to bhusd.org and go to the departments and facilities, go to construction, you'll see the BHUSD master plan and just click on that. And that is just a great site where we're keeping it updated. And there's just exciting things that are happening with construction that are not always visible from the street. but we're very proud of the work that's happening and the progress that's happening, even in these specific times of challenges. This team of men and women are working so hard on our construction, and we're very proud at not only the quality of work, but also the timeline of their work as well. So, but we're happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, so Mrs. Marcus, we'll start with you. Any questions? Okay, Ms. Marcus is
There we
not with
go.
us. Oh, there you go. Okay.
No, I'm here. Okay. Well, first of all, I've been privileged to be on the Strategic Plan Committee, and it's been a very exciting time to be right in the middle of it. And I want to commend Dr. Breggy for getting it going and for leading the way. And I want to commend Bonnie, the lady who is the facilitator that we've been using. She's doing a fantastic job. I really think so. I'm looking forward to seeing and working with them again to develop the strategic plan that we will come forward with. So, as I say, I've been in the middle of it, and so I don't have anything to report on that. I do have a little bit of a comment about projected enrollments for next year. I think that we are going to see, perhaps, with the economy being the way it is, I believe we may see an increase in our enrollment from people pulling the kids out of private schools and putting them back in the public school for financial reasons. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I know that I'm a member of another synagogue, as you know, and they are anticipating very strong, they're going to lose membership and lose students to the school because, and it's a full day school, because of the economy and what's happening and people not being able to afford to keep their kids in the private schools. And that, so I think we may see a little bit of an increase in enrollment. I don't know how much, but I think we'll probably see that more in the summer when people make up their minds about what they're going to do with their kids. So that would be my only comment there. And okay. That's something we should consider. I think that's it, Mrs. Hacker.
Thank you, Mrs. Marquez. Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
Thank you for the update. I'm thrilled to hear about the progress for the strategic plan. That's a really important and meaningful and pivotal bit of information for the district to have and really use as a springboard as we go into the fall in the next several years. And I'm let's see. I mean, I think the rest of the report is really excellent, very informative. Thank you for sharing. I agree with Mrs. Marcus that we may see an uptick a little bit in enrollment because of the economic strain, although I'm not really sure it's going to be a significant bump because I think people are still trying to figure out and will be still trying to figure out how long this is going to last and what the impact to them really is. So, whatever it is, we're going to adjust like we always do. It's something definitely to keep an eye on. And then in terms of the construction update, when we received it, I clicked on the upload that the construction facilities department had put on our website, and I was so blown away. So if anyone is interested, I've shared it already in a couple of different platforms, but if anyone has questions about what's going on, kind of behind the curtain, behind the chain link fence, there is a lot of really remarkable stuff happening, even in this pandemic time. So check it out, take a look, and let us know if you have any questions. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Spetz.
Okay, no additional comments. I appreciated the update, and the process sounds pretty exciting. I'm delighted that Mrs. Marcus is participating in it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Margot.
Thank you for the update, Dr. Breggy. Question about the enrollment with the numbers as they look like right now, and I'm not sure what we're expecting the plus or minus to be on that. Do we expect to be slightly overstaffed come fall, or it'll probably even out?
So if I can jump in, Dr. Breggy, I just want to remind the board that we're early still for enrollment, even under normal circumstances. With the current circumstances with COVID-19, it's even more so. You know, we're in an odd situation. We generally receive most of our new enrollments in May, June, and July. So I expect that we'll see that same uptick that we normally see. I think a lot of people are just waiting to see what happens with the end of the school year, and then figure out their plans for the next school year. But as Dr. Breggy said, we always have an influx of actually K1 and 2 during the summer. So I don't anticipate that we'll be overstaffed at this time. I think we need to wait and see what happens with the enrollment, and then maybe revisit it again in June, maybe mid-June, early July.
Do you think that there's a chance we might be understaffed in the K3s?
No, we staff based on our current projections,
Right.
and in our class sizes that we've discussed, you know, the 23-to-1 and the 29-to-1. So I think that we have adequate staff based on the current enrollment, which we use to do our current projections. If anything, the adjustments that we made a couple of weeks ago and the resolutions that the board has passed already will flush out those adjustments. We'll flush out where we were a little bit overstaffed. But I think we are adequately staffed and appropriately staffed at this time.
Okay, thank you. And as far as the construction update, I did look through and I noticed that the North Bridge has been taken down as well at the high school, and I think that's an exciting thing as we slowly cut the tether between the buildings B and building A, with only the administration bridge left. But people should take a look at the pictures or walk by and take a peek down Heath on your morning run, and you can see what's happening over there with the construction and just how quickly they're moving. So thank you for the update.
Mr. Recupero, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, but thank Dr. Breggy for the elaborate update. And I was able to participate in the student focus group before school ended or before school shut down. And it was really awesome. And I'm excited to see the final outcome in June.
Thank you. I also want to thank Dr. Breggy for his report. I know that I had asked for some of these, and so I'm so glad that you were able to incorporate some of these topics into your superintendent's report, which makes it much more easier for all of us. Dr. Breggy, I did have a question on the strategic plan. Could you please tell us on those focus groups, how many were there? I know that Thomas just said that there was a student focus group. Were teachers and community members combined, or were those held separately? And if they were held separately, how many did you have of each, meaning community members versus teachers, and how many teachers were involved in the process? Because I've heard different numbers, and so I just would like to know. If you could just clarify that for me, please.
Sure. So let me go back here for a second, because I did my presentation skipped a couple slides, but let me answer your question here that the focus groups, here is a slide that has, these are the different groups. We actually, not everybody showed up, but we did send out invites. There was about 102 or 3 people that actually did participate. They actually did show. So here's the groups that came, and right here. So everybody from teachers to administrators to classified, union, parents, community members without kids in school. And so we had quite a variety. Over 100 people participated in the focus groups.
Thank you, Dr. Breggy. That is a great slide there. Very good slide.
Can I add something really quick?
Sure, please.
So thank you. I just want to, I missed, it skipped a little bit, but I just want you to be aware, because I was also asked about the 7-Eleven, and maybe for some reason it didn't make it in here. But the 7-Eleven committee is, just to give you a quick update, was we have about 12 applicants that we're going to be reviewing, and we'll bring those names to the board. We did take a pause because of what was happening with COVID-19 and the home learning plan. So we'll bring that back, but we're ready to look at those applications and make some selections from the 12 that we have. And certainly we'll be moving on from there. And then the last thing that I just wanted to say, this is a kind of a proud moment for us with Mr. Seaman. He was elected to be a board member for the California Association of School Counselors. And so he will begin a term that begins in July. And it's such a great benefit to the district when you can have people that are in some leadership positions in the state, because he's representing Beverly Hills Unified. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for our school district to have somebody that's also participating. Although I will share with you that my first thought was, oh no, that's not what I need as another board member, but at least it's a board member with the School Counselors Association in California. And we're very proud of him. He is elected for this 4-year term, and we will see great benefit from his leadership there.
I'm going to ignore that comment about, oh no, another board member. We'll just move past that.
I was just kidding.
No, I'm just kidding. I did have a question though. Congratulations, Dustin, by the way. That's exciting news. And I'm really delighted to hear that you're going to be in that position, in that capacity. I think it's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. So let's see here. I did have one question on the enrollment, and this is for Mrs. Chisholm. Ms. Chisholm, so I know that we're in COVID-19, shut down right now, and the schools aren't open for business as usual. My question is, for anyone watching and who's interested in enrolling, what is the process right now? How are we doing that, since they can't just physically come into the office and engage? So what is the process?
Well, luckily, most of our enrollment was online. The initiation of enrollment was online prior to COVID-19, and it's still online. So if you go to BHUSD.org and click on enrollment, it will walk you through the entire process. And then they are able to send in documents electronically. And Maria Fernandez of Elvira in my office is still processing enrollment for the 2021 school year. And we're doing everything virtually. So you can still enroll, you can still be processed. We just won't have a face-to-face interaction. Everything will be done virtually via email.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. I think it was an important question to ask. Okay, that concludes our.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Breggy, for that. Congratulations again, Dustin. Very exciting. And we are going to move to student board member report, Mr. Recupero.
All right, so even though everyone is still at home, I feel very connected through the BHUSD Instagram account and all of the other school site accounts, including the Earth Day celebration, which was very successful, with photos from many families, to a climate change conversation webinar. And thanks to everyone who participated and helped plan that, including Ms. Crane and other staff members. All these social media pages are vibrant, colorful, and lively, so it's always fun to check those out. In terms of home learning, I'm feeling much more comfortable with it personally, and I think I speak on behalf of many other students. I think the teachers and students have settled in as best as we can, and we're making the best of the situation. All teachers are different in how they deliver their curriculum, and students all learn in different ways. So in order to make the best of the situation, it is very important for students to communicate with their teachers. That's my thing about home learning for today. And then lastly, I just wanted to thank PTSA, especially their senior committee, the high school administration, and all others involved for their planning and restructuring of all the senior events. The high school PTSA invites all seniors to decorate their door on May 13th, depicting who they are and all their unique accomplishments. After decorating, please take a photo of your door and a photo of the senior in front of the door. In addition, please opt in to get your senior a yard sign to showcase on your front lawn. Those are my 2 announcements for seniors, and that concludes my board report.
Thank you, Mr. Recupero. I thought those were supposed to be surprises, but the good thing is I don't think students really watch our meetings, so it's still a surprise. Right? Okay, so we're going to move on to Tristan. Will you please make the next motion? We're going to move on to human resources. I think you were going to make that motion. You may.
Sure. I move approval of resolution 2019-2020-026 regarding layoff of classified personnel.
Okay, and I will second that. Okay, discussion. Okay, all those in favor, I'm going to start with Mrs. Marcus. We're going to do a roll call vote. Mrs. Marcus,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Spitz,
Yes.
Mr. Margot.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and my vote is a yes as well. That passes 5-0. Okay, next item on the agenda. May I please have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of resolution 2019-2020-027 regarding layoff of classified management personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Margot. I will second that. Any
I'll second.
okay, thank you. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Mrs. Marcus.
No, on that item, no. Oh, yeah, yes.
You're voting yes? We're
Yes.
voting, I'm sorry. Thank you. Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Spitz.
Yes.
Mr. Margot.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 5-0. And I vote yes, I'm sorry, yes. It's a 5-0. Okay. Moving on to the next item. Who wants to make a motion, please?
I'll move. I move for the approval of resolution 2019-2020-024 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and Pre-Disaster Mitigation Program for the California OES 130 form.
Okay, I will second that. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor, Mrs. Marcus,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Spitz,
Yes.
Mr. Margot,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. Thank you for that. That passes 5-0. Moving on to facilities, correct? Planning and facilities? Did I skip something?
No, you skipped the ARB.
You know what I did because it didn't print. Can somebody please make a motion in a second because I'm not seeing it on mine.
Yeah, I will move approval of amendment number 4 to the agreement by and between the City of Beverly Hills, ARB Inc. and the Beverly Hills Unified School District for operation and abandonment services of oil and gas wells at 9865 Olympic Boulevard with the City of Beverly Hills.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, any discussion on that? Okay. Mrs. Marcus, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Okay, and my vote is a yes as well. That passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on, now I can move on to planning and facilities, correct? Okay, so may I have a motion, please, for the first item on that section?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead, Mel.
I will move authorization to purchase PE lockers for Beverly Vista Middle School from Jorgensen Industrial Companies by utilizing U.S. General Services Administration contract number GS-27F-001.
Right. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Mel. I will second that. Any discussion on that, please? Okay. We're going to go for a vote. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes, you skipped Mel, but.
Did I? You know why? Because you're on my screen first. Sorry. Sorry, Mel. I apologize. But Mr. Margot, thank you. I'll take that as a yes. And Mr. Spitz?
I vote yes also.
Thank you. And I am a vote yes as well. My vote is yes. So that's 5-0. Thank you. We're going to move on.
I move approval of the authorization to purchase wireless access points for Beverly Hills High School, buildings B1 and 2, from CDWG LLC by utilizing Irvine Unified School District IT, technology equipment, and peripherals contract 1920-01 piggyback.
I'll second the motion.
Isabel, you're on mute.
I am on mute. I did that accidentally. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I was saying thank you to both of you. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, I had asked staff the question about the GMAX for this project and where this falls under, and the transmittal did indicate that the equipment itself was not under the original GMAX. The labor to install it is. So I got that clarification from staff. So thank you.
Okay, does everyone understand? Is Jeff going to join us, or did you need more clarification on that?
No. I was just sharing with my question and the
Clarifying.
response. So
Thank you.
okay.
Any other discussion on that? No. Okay, so we're going to call for a vote. Mrs. Marcus, we'll start with you. Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
Yes. Yes.
Mrs. Walker, thank you. Mr. Spitz.
Yes.
Mr. Margot.
Yes.
Thank you. And my vote is a yes as well. That passes 5-0. We'll move on to the next item. May I please have a motion?
Sure.
I move
I'll make
approval of amendment number 3 to the agreement with Environmental Audit, Inc. for design and investigation services under Department of Toxic Substance Control, DTSC oversight at Beverly Hills High School.
So moved. Thank you. Discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Mr. Spitz, please go ahead.
Now, I believe this has to do with the cost of handling 6 legacy wells, that is, re-abandoning them. I'm wondering what the ultimate cost of that would be, and my understanding is that 2 of them will be paid. The cost will be borne by MTA. What about the other 4? Do we have any idea of what kind of cost we're looking at on that, and how we're going to manage to pay for them?
I'm not sure if anyone's here from facilities, Dr. Breggy. If they're not, then I guess they are here. Okay, because I can't see them.
Yes, Tiara has joined us. Thank you for being here, Tiara.
For those who don't know me, I'm Sierra Michelson. I work as the Assistant Project Manager for Facilities. I have been asked to inform you that Mr. Pileman is no longer with the company, and I will be taking over the Q&A for all future board meetings. With regard to this inquiry, Mr. Spitz, this is actually to get involved with the Department of Toxic Substances Control to begin the design work for the master site plan of the south half of the facility. This does not have to do specifically with the legacy wells, although they are a part of the eventual plan as far as abandonment goes. This is specific to the continuity of developing and ensuring that we meet all regulations and guidelines with respect to the DTSC. For this specific area, encompassing the gymnasium, the swim gym, food services, where our current facilities offices rest, parking areas, the tennis courts, and the play fields. All of this area encompassed needs to be properly investigated and ensured that a formal report is filed so that we know the extent of any environmental constituents within these areas.
No, I understood that. I understood what this amendment is for. I was just wondering how much of a cost it might eventually be to re-abandoning these wells, and and what we might have in the way of a budget for it. But that may be some information that you don't have, and I would understand that.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We're in the process of exploring those 6 legacy wells at present, and we will begin developing a projected estimate for abandoning those wells.
Thank you.
Mel, did you have a concern or a follow-up question to that?
No, I'll wait to hear. I'm sure we'll hear in the future what this is going to cost and how we're going to manage to pay for it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mel. Any other questions or discussion, comments on this issue, on this topic? No? Okay, so we're going to go for a vote. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus, we're going for a vote. Can you unmute yourself, please?
I am not muted. I said yes.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay, Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Margot?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That's 5-0. And I want to thank Mrs. Michelson for being with us tonight to answer these questions. Okay, we're going to move on. 13G.
I'll make a
Please have
motion for the acceptance of the asphalt and concrete repair work by Edgar Garza Construction on Heath Avenue at the high school and authorize a notice of completion and release of retention.
I second the motion.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, we're going to go for a vote. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Thank you. And my vote is yes as well. That passes 5-0. Okay, moving on to 13E. May I please have a motion?
Move approval of agreement extension for the William Scotsman Inc. Relocatable buildings used for interim housing for the El Rodeo School modernization project.
Okay, I will second that. Thank you. Any discussion on that?
I have something to say on that. In the rationale, they list that the modernization was for Hawthorne School also, but in questioning them why that was there, I did not realize. I don't believe that Hawthorne School has any portables, and I think that might have been either a mistake or I don't know why it was mentioned, but I don't believe Hawthorne is scheduled to have any portables. Am I right, Dr. Briggy? That it was in the rationale that the Hawthorne was there, and I didn't understand where that came from. Because
you're correct. There's no portables at Hawthorne, nor will there be.
Thank you.
Okay, I had asked a question and I'm looking. I don't see. Yeah, I didn't see. Yeah, my question was, we're talking about 5 units remaining on site at El Rodeo, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, and so this is for the construction staff that is there presently working on the site? That's the
Yes,
purpose
ma'am.
of the, great, thank you so much. I wanted to clarify that. I had a few questions from some members of the community. Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Michelson. Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'm going to call for the vote. Okay, Mrs. Marcus, we'll start with you, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Spitz,
Yes.
Mr. Margot,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That passes 5-0. Thank you for that. Moving on to the next item. Can I please have a motion? Wait, do we have a motion? No.
Yep, I'll make a motion for the approval of the board governance handbook.
Yes, please, Mr. Margot. Thank you. Any discussion?
I would like to make, can I go?
Yes.
I would love to, in approving the Board of Governance handbook, I would love to see a hard copy that maybe we could have for new members that are elected so that they would have it in their hands. I think it would be easier. I know that I would have appreciated something that had been, though there wasn't one at the time really, I would have appreciated having something like that, which was a real nice compilation of protocols, norms, and objectives, and so on. That would have helped, I think, a lot. So I personally think that there should be something that we can give to new members that are elected, as well as we would have our own copy of it. I think we should have a hard copy of it. It's easier to maybe research. I just find, for my purposes, I like to have something in my hand to read. I find it easier. So I'm offering that. If they don't want to do it, I would just like a copy for myself. But I think it would be nice, something that we could have, something that we could give to somebody once they're elected.
Thank you, Mrs. Marcus. I would agree with you. Any further discussion?
I'll just say
Any
that I
comments?
think it was a
I just want to thank the board for being
2.5
part of this
hour
process.
Hello?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
There's
There's a delay. There's an incredible delay.
Got it. I just wanted to say it was a 3.5, almost 4 hour board meeting or special study session when we were talking about this. And I feel like we made some really good collaborative edits. And I'm really happy to see that so many of the bylaws are included there. I think that's so much of what governs and guides what we do. And so I'm really happy where we netted out. And I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for those comments, Mrs. Walker-Schuman. Anybody else? I just really wanted to say thank you to the board. This started in October, and in a way, it's kind of historical that this board finally has something like this in place to use in the future. Hasn't been done in the past. I'm not sure why, but I'm glad that we had the board that finally realized that this was something that was missing. It just keeps the process of the business of the board much more in order and much more concise. I think it's going to be an asset, yes, for this board, but I think we laid down a foundation for future boards. And so the four of you had a big part in that. And so I just really want to acknowledge that today and say thank you. I think it was really important that we were all involved, and you all were critical. Were a critical voice and part of the process. So I thank you. Okay.
Did they ask about the MTO status? I'm sorry.
I'm getting feedback from somebody. So we are going to, does this require a vote? I must ask. I guess it does. It does require a vote, right, Mr. Margot? I'm thinking.
Yes, it's an approval, so it needs
It's an approval. Thank you for that. Mr. Margot is also the parliamentarian unofficially, but he is. Okay.
Those are the years talking.
Yes. Okay. So, Mrs. Marcus, I'm going to call for the vote. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Okay. And Mrs. Hacker is also a yes on that. Thank you. It's 5-0. Moving on.
Okay, I'll make
approval. Go ahead, Noah. I don't think you had one yet today.
It's not a race. Well, maybe. Make a motion for the approval of Resolution 2019-2020-025 to order governing board member election November 3rd, 2020.
Okay, I will second that. Any discussion?
Yes, I did ask staff about this one as well because of the timeliness and COVID-19 and what the county was doing. I was informed that the deadline is still May 15th. That didn't change. This is this is the date of the board meeting that we're going to have to approve this. So I appreciated staff getting back to me on that. As far as how elections will be held, the county isn't particularly 100% sure yet, and that information will come out as forthcoming. So.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Margot. Anybody else? Okay, so let's go for a vote. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
And I'm a vote yes as well. Thank you. That's 5-0. And now we have communication from board members. So, Dr. Breggy, or who wants to start with this? We have discussion of summer enrichment and assessment opportunities for students. Do you want to handle all these together, or do you want to? I mean, I guess staff is, I don't know if staff has anything to add. That's why I'm deferring to Dr. Breggy.
So, I mean, either or, we can take them one by one, or Tristan and Noah, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, so I had asked actually separately from Tristan, and I think these are all lumped into one thing, so I think we can tackle this. But my initial concern was people are worried about finishing up the semester, and do the students will they get enough of the curriculum to get them to the next grade next year? So I had asked Dr. Breggy what plans, if we could just discuss it, really what staff is up to. It's not really as much of a board discussion. The way I see it, there are three options for the fall. There's either going back to school as normal, there's doing a hybrid, or there's continuing remote learning. And I just wonder if staff is going to be ready to pivot to all three. That was my first question. My second one is, for those students that don't feel comfortable having finished up this school year, is there a chance to assess them before the end of the school year, and then give them, the district gives them opportunities to kind of play catch up over the summer, above and beyond any of the other things, the extended school year that Mr. Seaman talked about. So those are my two questions, and Dr. Breggy put them under board discussion. They could have been under superintendent's report, but I just wanted to make sure that the community was aware, and parents and everybody, that we are talking about these things now, and that we are putting plans in place. So I'll leave it at that, and you guys can take it.
Yeah, let me answer just the first one, because I think this is the one that keeps us all up at night. Is we check in with LACO. We are also in touch with the state superintendent, Tony Thurmond, and also Governor Newsom, and as well as our own networking that we have. And I know that Dustin and I have had a lot of conversation about kind of those next steps as well. Just like you had opened with, Mr. Margot, is that we have to start planning for different things happening, and because we don't have all of the information right now. And so as a meeting with superintendents in other school districts as well, there are actually even school districts right now that haven't even closed for the rest of the school year yet, because they're not sure that they cannot reopen. So we have people kind of on all extremes of where we are, but the planning piece is what we're doing just in case. And so while we don't have a presentation for you tonight, there are a lot of conversations that are happening about what does the fall look like if maybe stay-at-home orders are lifted, but yet there is still social distancing restrictions and large group meeting restrictions. That's kind of what we're getting. The latest information that we're getting is that that will be in place at least throughout the summer, is those large group and social distancing restrictions. So that's become part of our plan, is to look at what can we do with the next school year if it is a blended opportunity, or if it is restrictions on the number of students that can be in what's considered to be a group. And so we're going to be ready no matter which direction we go. We certainly would be way too premature at this time, at the end of April, to make that decision. But I want you to know that we are looking at a variety of plans, even if we have to adjust the school day, the structure of the school day. We're looking at, and I'll just say from my own perspective, and Mr. Siemens as well, and Ms. Chisholm, when we talk about instruction, that overall we're very pleased with Home Learning Plan 2.0, but it's certainly not a long-term plan for our students and our staff. It's just not. And so as we go forward, we're looking at the possibilities of more of a driver of the curriculum, an established accredited online program much like what was mentioned in summer school, that's a possibility as well, is looking at some sort of blended option where the online portion is already an established curriculum and the teacher is the support. But then we're also looking at what kind of restrictions, if depending on what the large group would be. How would we structure a school day if we had groups of students, even if it was 12 to 15 in a classroom 6 feet apart? What would that look like? And how would we control common areas like hallways and bathrooms and things like that? We don't have answers to those things yet. So while there are people that want to ensure that we put out statements now that we are going to open in the fall, we just can't do that. We have a lot of regulatory agencies that we are working with, that we are meeting with on a daily basis. So, we have some time to do some planning. I think that it's important that we involve BHEA in our planning for what the fall looks like. This is a little bit different from the first time. And so, we want to be partners. We want to look at what the possibilities may be. And so that's kind of the next step for us. Unfortunately, it's, we're being asked to plan around, a multitude of situations, but this team has been together for a few years. And this is one of our strengths, is putting a plan together for a variety of options. So I want the board to be assured that we're going to take everything into consideration. First and foremost is student safety and working with the regulatory agencies. But the second piece is, the instruction and student achievement. And we know that what's working now is not something that would work in the fall, especially when, as you mentioned, there are some students that, may be needing some extra assistance. And so while we're planning for the fall, we know that teachers in the fall may have to do a little bit more reteaching than they normally would. So starting out, in what could be a deficit for some of our students, we have to take that into consideration. So, it's all on the table. I mean, we're going to be able to come back to the board shortly with a variety of approaches.
Okay. So
wait, Tristan, can I just finish my last thought?
Yeah, sure.
So Dr. Berge, thank you. That's a very thorough answer, but I do wonder about possible summer opportunities to make up for the deficit, if you're discussing that as well.
So I know that the summer school offerings are, there are more offerings now than ever before. I think here's the key to what I believe should be happening now, is that more now than ever before, there needs to be communication between our students advocating for their own learning and their teachers, as well as the parent being involved too, with their teachers, as far as the understanding of the curriculum, and if they feel comfortable moving on, or if they don't feel comfortable moving on, because the registration period is just opened up for summer school. So there is an opportunity for students to, if they don't feel like they are where they need to be successful for moving on to that next level, there are those summer school opportunities that are available, as well as some online opportunities that are available for students to take online over the summer.
Okay, thank you.
So just to kind of use that as the jumping off point, I think it's really, you talk about perfect situation colliding. The idea that BHEF is doing their summer school, and I'm assuming, since it was said before that it's BHUSD teachers that are always used, so I'm just assuming that's going forward. Those are the certificated teachers that are going to be supervising. It's a really amazing opportunity to see how this works and how our students respond and how they absorb the curriculum, and how the teachers like to see that interaction. I think it's a really great kind of little test group before we get too deep into conversations about what we envision for the fall. But I asked for this to be added on because I really want the families and the parents especially to know that even though we haven't had these conversations yet in public, there are a lot of moving parts. There's information that the district staff is getting, and that's the work, right? We can weigh in and give our opinions, but we're not the people that design the program. That's all on you guys. But I think it's important for people to know these discussions are happening. So I would be a huge advocate for assessing students at the end of the school year so that we see curriculum-wise where they land, what stuff they have got, what stuff they haven't got, so that we can give them some pathways to make up some of what was missed in the summertime and then reassess again in the fall before school starts, whatever that looks like, just so that we're not having kids fall through the cracks. And I know that's a tall order, but I would love to see something like that so that, because we don't have standardized testing this year, just for our own personal knowledge, so that we see really where the skill set is, where the holes are, and how we can help support those students that have, experienced some learning loss. And then in terms of fall plans options for school, I was reading an article earlier today, and it said, and when students do return, administrators will be tasked with keeping kids and their families safe, with options including everyone wearing masks, staggering start times, and canceling assemblies and sports. So I think we need to have those conversations in public too. And I've had them with my own kids. If you can't go forward with sports, what would your more ideal learning environment look like? And I think those are really worthwhile conversations to have among the staff and among the families, because of this unprecedented place that we find ourselves. And then in terms of discussion of quality, equitable, turnkey remote education for every student and grade level, I think there was a little bit of question about what exactly that meant. What I meant was exactly what BHEF has pivoted to not pivoted to, I think it was part of their plan anyway, but is now their mainstream, offering. And that is being able to have, a curriculum that's already designed, where the kids are kind of self-pacing, but have the support of a staff member when they need help, when they have questions, when they're not understanding a topic or something like that, because it's in compliance with the CDE curriculum. And that way we ensure that no one's missing any of the pieces. So I really want to make sure that the community understands that these are all things that we're thinking about. Similar to graduation, we can't make decisions yet because we don't have all the information yet. So we have to be agile, and we're going to have to be able to pivot and take in all this information and make decisions as we go. But that also means having these discussions now, so we know, what the options are where we're headed in the fall. So that's really the reason why I asked for it. I'd love to hear any other ideas or input that anybody else has.
Let's see. We'll start with Mrs. Marcus.
Okay, let me go. I'm off. Okay. I would like to return to the original thought on this, and that was the subject of what's going to happen in the fall. And I think that's something that we have time, right? Even though we don't know what it's going to be like in the fall, we do have time to start to think about all the possibilities, and even after we just think of all the possibilities, there will be new possibilities that will come up. You never can visualize everything that can happen. But I think we have time now, and we need to start, and I know we are. I know because I just heard it from Dr. Briggy. We're starting to look at what some of the possibilities will be, what are some of the contingencies that we will have to look at, and so on, so that we will be ready. I think we were more or less caught a little bit off guard when we went into the COVID-19, and I don't think we were ready for what we went into. I'm being very honest, that I felt we were really caught off guard. I don't want to be caught off guard come the start of the school year. I think that there's no reason to be now, because I think we have time to plan. And I know that our cabinet and our administration are looking at that very thing. So I appreciate that. And I wanted to mention that. I also feel that we should involve as much as possible some of the teachers in this and the BHEA in this, so that they will buy in, and hopefully we will not have to work out such a great memorandum of understanding, even though we're going to be going into negotiations, and I understand that. But I think that by having them somewhat involved, because they are teachers and they do know, I, as a teacher, would feel that I would like my input in something like that. It's just, that's the way I am. If I buy into it, I can then adhere to it. I'll be able to feel like it's something that I had a part of. So I'm hoping that when we do that, that will be a case. So as far as the instruction is concerned, again, trying to catch the kids up. I don't have kids in the Beverly Hills schools. I only can go by what my own 2 grandchildren are doing. And all I know is that on Monday morning, my son comes over and picks up a stack of papers and takes them home. And the kids work on the papers all week long. They do meet with they do some videos and so on and so forth. I don't know if they're in school all day long, but I do know that they spend the better part of the day doing work. And the thing that is important to me and what happens here is that there are 2 of them in the class, and they're twins, so they both in the same grade level. And my son takes one, and my daughter-in-law takes the other one because they need that kind of help. And I feel sorry for parents that have more than one child in the school at the same time, and dividing their time. It must be very, very difficult. So, and then they become the teachers. And that is another thing that's very, very difficult. I said to my daughter-in-law the other day, "You're the teacher in the class now." And she says, "Yeah, that's right." She said, "I don't understand half of what they're doing because they now teach math so completely different than when she went to school." My son said the same thing. So I'm just rambling. I guess I should stop. But I really hope that when this all comes to, when we start the year, I know the parents are already starting to hope that we will open the schools just like they were. And, I got to go back to my original statement. We don't have complete control of that at all. What is will be. I mean, we have to find out what's going to be happening totally in every which way. So I hear the parents and I hear what they're saying, and I feel for them. But again, safety and health are the most important factors that we must consider. So I guess you heard my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mr. Spitz.
One more thing.
Excuse me. No, I have to leave. I have to leave the meeting, so please let me finish, and then you can take it. I just want to say this is a very important and worthwhile topic, and I appreciate that Mr. Margot and Mrs. Walker-Schuman had it brought up, and good thing to be considering alternatives and options. So I'm glad for that. And lastly, because I have to leave the meeting, I just want to say that Luke, I wish you every success in your new opportunity. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mel.
And I'm sorry, but I have to leave the meeting now.
Okay, I hope everything's all right.
Okay, Mrs. Marcus, you had a point.
I just wanted to congratulate Dustin on his position, and I just want to know one thing, Dustin. I don't know where you're going to find the time in the day to take on another job with the board. You're so busy all the time. I find it amazing that you're going to be able to handle both. And I just wanted to, and again, congratulations and good luck to Luke. And we'll miss you. Thank you.
Okay, so
thank you, Rochelle.
I guess on that topic, I just like to turn this over to the staff. I heard Mr. Margot talk about students who might need another opportunity to, meet the criteria that they were set to meet this year. And because of the interruption with COVID-19, perhaps that is not going to be achieved to that level of expectation. So my question is from staff, I mean, do you have numbers to suggest that this is a concern of the administrators and the teachers and people in the classroom? Because I'm just kind of wondering, I haven't been given any information, so I really want to represent the issue at hand fairly. So is there something to stipulate or that makes us assume that this is an issue for our district?
I can jump in, Dr. Bucky. So one of the examples that we are actually being proactive in this approach is on May 1st, the elementary teachers are going to be working together and looking at what are the grade level standards and strands, determining what are those grade level standards and strands that we might not be able to tackle this year. And we're going to then be working and articulating them into the fall of 2020. So that's one prime example of where we're being proactive and not waiting till the end of the school year, identifying it now, and then being able to move that information and that content and curriculum into the next grade band. For the middle school and the high school, we've been working with individual teachers on identifying students and making those recommendations for the summer school process now that they've re-released the new summer school program. And so that you heard Preston earlier mention even around in middle school math and ELA support through BHEF as well. Outside of the Title I and Title III support courses. So we're putting a lot of extra supports in and offering actually more summer programming than in summers past for the summer.
Okay. Okay. So what about, so Dustin, I'm just gonna, again, piggyback on this. So you mentioned the assessment, I guess, is it an assessment on May 1st that is happening to some degree? Or what would you call that, an assessment?
No, the first on May 1st, the elementary teachers are able to collaborate across the district to identify what is it that we're not going to be able to get across. The assessment is on a daily basis. So every day we are constantly in SFP meetings determining whether or not students are making adequate progress. If they're not making adequate progress, we're looping in our school counselors and our assistant principals and principals to have these conversations with parents.
Okay. So if the collaboration takes place on May 1st and then you find out that, X, Y, and Z weren't met because, of the delivery, the challenge that we have upon us, what then? Does that piece get moved to next year's curriculum? Do you modify the curriculum, or do you offer something in the future, in the middle, like for the students who might need that? In the summer? And if so, I'm not sure. I know that I saw the approval today in the certificated report for Title I and III, but beyond that, is there anything else that the district is looking to provide, or we just can't right now? For those younger grades, for the younger grades.
Clarification standpoint again. On May 1st, the elementary teachers are going to meet and collaborate and determine exactly what can we accomplish before the end of the school year. And we will already be moving some of those items possibly to the next grade level to ensure that we don't create educational gaps in our students' learning.
Okay.
And so during that process too, we'll also be making those recommendations like we have in the past. Those students that might be struggling, whether we find out through assessing them or we find out through just their engagement in the home learning process, around that recommendation for summer school process program.
Okay, so I would expect that you would come back. Staff should really inform the board, if what the findings are and what the accommodations are going to be to meet that criteria for curriculum. Whether it's met this year, or if you have any significant concerns, I would encourage you, and I would hope that you will continue to connect with the board and communicate with us through this venue. Along those lines, I do have another question. So I certainly we heard BHEF, and I'm so glad that they were here today to talk about their summer program and how that's going to be launched. But for the younger kids, for the younger students, what are the plans for the summer? I mean, because we can't. There's never been a summer program, I know, but for the younger group that BHEF has launched, or there was at some point, but not recently, in the most recent years. What is the plan as far as, how do you envision this for students in the future, as far as if something were to happen, or it's just really preliminary? I realize that. I mean, I know that you don't have a plan, but.
Yeah, and I don't speak on behalf of BHEF, but they did initially on their, I'm going to call it Summer School 1.0. There was plans again, and Kevin Painter serves as that principal over the elementary program.
I remember that, yeah.
For a K-5, it's Academy, and then there's a couple of enrichment programs, like a yoga, a mathmania, a coding. And so they're now that they've kind of completed the 612, I believe that there is now look at that elementary academy process again to see what can we move online, what can we not move online, to be able to provide that support for those elementary level students.
Okay, great. And I'd just like to echo Mrs. Marcus's sentiments that I think it's important to have the teachers involved in this process because, you know, in order for it to work successfully and to be seamless, it has to involve them, of course, in the process. And I know that you're all aware of that, as of course. Okay, I don't have any further comments. Dr. Breggy, anything else that you want to jump in and clarify or point out for us before we leave this discussion?
Mrs. Hacker, can I say one more thing?
Please. But can I, and then afterwards, Dr. Breggy, if you want to jump in, please.
Did I cut you off, Dr. Breggy?
No, not at all.
Okay. There's articles now coming out, and if you're watching what's going on around the country, states are starting to do emergency resolutions to reduce the number of instructional minutes required so that schools can end their school years early and actually just stop in the next week or so. Some of them are calling it quits by May 1st, some of them a week early, some of them 3 weeks early. A lot of them citing the reasons that we fortunately in Beverly Hills don't have, because we were smart enough to toot our own horn and say, well, let's go one-to-one with technology. Let's try to make sure that every student has a device so we can deliver this, not even knowing at the time that this would be the outcome. But the biggest reason that they're trying to cut these school years short is because inequality of delivering an education in a lot of school districts. And it's a horrible thing that they have to do that. I don't think we have to. I think we have all the tools in place that if we use them right, we can continue this home learning. And like you said earlier, that if we do have to continue this in the fall, then we'll have to revise it and really think hard. There are a lot of success stories right now. I'm hearing from parents and my own experience with my own children. There are a tremendous amount of success stories. There are some difficulties that we're having as well. But I want to give a shout out to all those teachers that are making this work, that are keeping students engaged. My daughter is treating every day like a real school day. She is up from class like 9 to 3. She's doing work and she's focused and she's meeting with teachers and she's doing group work with other students. And it's a testimony to those teachers that know how to use this system and continue to deliver the education. But as we watch other less fortunate states, even not even districts, but states have to change and pivot because they don't have what we have here. Hopefully everybody can see that in our district and understand when you first thought about coming to Beverly Hills Unified, there's a deep underlying reason, and this was it. This was because when it hit the fan, we were able to pivot maybe better than most, you know. And I think that's a testimony to the cabinet, the staff, the faculty, the wonderful teachers, and I got to include the parents because parents are our kids' first teachers. And now they've kind of been called back to duty, for another tour. And especially elementary parents. Middle school and high school are more independent learners. Elementary parents really have it tough. And I admire everything that they're doing. I thank them for helping this move along, making sure you're part of the kids' process and education and getting the rest of the school year completed successfully. So as we move on and deal with this, we have to keep in mind that we are fortunate and we need to be taking advantage of our fortune and making sure we do the best job we can on all angles. So thank you for letting that's my diatribe.
Thank you, Mr. Margot. I agree with you 100%. Okay, so Dr. Breggy, did you want to say anything? Going once?
No, I think there's been enough surprises during the meeting, so thank you very much.
Okay, great. We are going to then move on to communication from board members. Actually, is there anything else from board members before we move away from this? Anything that's not agendized? Nope. No announcements? Nothing? Okay, great. We're going to then conclude the meeting. I'd like to just say that the future meetings, we have a regular board meeting on Tuesday, May 12th at 5 p.m. And also another regular board meeting on May 26th at 5 p.m. Both meetings will be teleconferenced as this one was. And I'd like to thank everybody for being here today, for being patient with us if you're watching or if you're going to be watching. And thank you for the wonderful discussion. I thought it was right on target. And that's it. This concludes our meeting. Good luck to everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.